in 2022, during my lunch break, I was outside for a walk, and I just, in a way that I never experienced prior, I felt the Holy Spirit hit me with the full weight of my sin, and I
Wow.
just said, God, I'm lost.
Wow.
I know the right things. I grew up in church. I say the right things. I'm in the right ministries, but my heart is not changed.
Mm.
I love my sin, and I love myself, and I do not love you.
I love my sin.
Yes.
Wow. This is James Rousseau, a.k.a. Trig, and let me welcome you to the CoreLink Solutions Show. I start with the same question every time. What's one thing those who are closest to you don't know about you?
Oh, I'm going to say, I mean, I love dogs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my wife knows this.
She knows this.
Yeah, she knows.
Yeah.
You know
She
what I'm
knows
saying?
this, yeah.
But I used to subscribe to a magazine when I was a kid, Dog Fancy magazine. And I used to read like encyclopedias, like breed encyclopedias.
Right.
So I want to say I'm pretty much like 9 out of 10, bro. Like if we see dogs on the street, I could tell you what breed it is.
Wow. What drove that interest, man? Like, to the point of subscribing to magazines to understand the breeds and all that.
Man, it was a couple things. Ever since I was a kid, I think I was just drawn to just the grit. You know what I mean? Of like the dog.
Right.
Strong, fast, tough,
But you're in the Bronx, right?
Yeah.
So it's not like you're out near breeders and whatnot.
But my grandfather, so for a time, I lived with my grandfather growing up. My family did. And my grandfather, legit, bro, he never owned fewer than 4 dogs at a time.
Gotcha.
And
pure breeds, mixed?
Boxers, Rotties,
Gotcha.
Goldens, Shepherds. I mean, you name it, mixed as well. My grandfather had it, even Chow Chows. Like, I feel like my grandfather was getting like a new dog like every 6 months. And he had kennels outside, but like, he kept them really well.
Gotcha.
So that was where it started. But then, like just spending time with them, interacting with them, I felt like I understood them and they understood me. So like when I was a kid, sometimes I was quiet. It was really hard for me to talk. But I go outside and I play with my dogs, and I just felt like a connection.
Gotcha.
And so that's where it started, man. Plus, my middle name is means dog.
Does
Caleb,
it?
Caleb, yeah.
Caleb,
yeah,
got it.
in
Got
Hebrew,
it.
Yep.
So say your full government name.
Nathaniel Caleb. You want me to say my last name?
Yeah,
too?
of course.
Feliciano, man.
Got it. And so what's the origin of your name overall? What heritage?
Puerto Rican ethnically.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
100%.
are your parents from originally Puerto Rico or
No. So my grandparents were, I want to say they came when they were like, my grandfather was like 2.
Got it.
My maternal grandfather, paternal grandfather, I don't know when he came, but he came. So my parents were born here. So I'm like 2nd gen.
Got it.
Yep.
So what led to you rapping at Rap Fest, man, at like 6 years old?
Well, I rapped at Rap Fest when I was like 8.
Okay, like 8. Okay, so 2 years off.
Yeah, no, I got you, man. But when I was 6, I did record. So there was a brother who used to lead Rap Fest. I think he was responsible for like organizing.
It's like Bert Boca Chica. Is that who you think about?
My man.
That's my bro,
you know what I
man.
mean?
Man, Bert is my brother. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Every year, bro, he used to host, and I remember one year, he told my mom, "Hey, why don't you come to my crib and we'll record."
Yeah.
And so I recorded a song, and I remember him giving my mom a cassette.
Man, I have to make sure Bert sees this because Rap Fest for us was every year, us in the van, couple cars, whatever, going up to Rap Fest. That was a thing.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's where people first saw like Corey Red and Precise.
Yes.
Mark of the East.
Yes.
When they first came out, that was where, to me, R. Swift had one of his best moments. The Truth now, Emmanuel had one of his best moments.
Ambassador
cross movement with Grace the Stage, and then dudes like, all right, movement out. I mean,
Word.
And for me, even I was an artist back then. One of the songs I did was with Fanatic, formerly of the Cross Movement, right? And we graced the stage and had a chance. Right. And so that stage has been, to me, a platform that has helped so many people catapult their career.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And so when it moved from being there on the street, and to me that street was just covered to the park. It changed a bit, right? And then, unfortunately, it stopped. But shout out to Bert and Mike Boca Chica. Mike Boca Chica used to lead the Coffee House.
Yep,
same thing. We had a chance, me, Baradox, to come up and grace the stage, man. So it is something that I think historically for Christian hip hop, one of the things I aspire to do is preserve some of the history and legacy,
Yeah.
and see us do that, and make those connections. So you hear is like a part of what exactly what I'm talking about.
100%, man. So
You know what I mean?
I came up there, like
Yeah.
Urban D, Eric E. So that's
Eric
the thing. When I was
E!
8, bro.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I rapped like a cover to, and I probably remember the song too, man. Sons of God. So
Yes.
B-Wise, Eric E.
Yes.
What was it, man? Down for the Lord.
Down for the Lord.
That was it.
Well, you going back. Remember Brothers Inc.? You can't run, but you can't hide.
Yes.
Brothers Inc.
So I loved it, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I had a front row seat to this stuff.
Brother
Growing up,
E.
man. Yeah.
First time I saw Hazard Kim.
Yes.
Book of Books.
Yes.
Was on the side of the
Theophany.
building. Yes.
Yes.
I never forget because something happened and we had to go to the other side of the building where the gate was, and Hazard Kim was like, we still doing this song.
Right.
And they did Book of Books.
Yep.
Shut it down.
Oh yeah, man.
Shut it down.
I remember, man.
Good roots, man. Good roots.
Yeah.
So how did that impact you? How did that shape you?
Yeah, man. So really, from a young age, I was like, "This is awesome."
Mm.
You know what I mean? And so, I'd be home, and I would just like rap here and there, and it really started, like I said, 6 years old, just like covers. You know what I mean? And finding my rhythm, and then I started writing my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think this is something that I could do. And then I started performing at church,
Right.
performing at coffee house, and then other events and stuff, other churches.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
That's good, man. That's
Yeah,
good.
man.
So then I read that you were also in fine arts competitions.
Right.
What led to that?
Yeah, so when I was in high school, we actually lived in Connecticut for a time. So the church that we were attending used to participate in like an annual talent show called Fine Arts Festival. So it was an Assemblies of God church.
Gotcha.
And so they had a rap category. So I remember the first year that I participated, I was 16. And, by God's grace, I advanced to the national level. So it's like sectionals, regionals, nationals, and I placed third. The next year, I also advanced to the national level.
Yeah.
And at the regional level, I had the opportunity to perform like at the conference, right? Because I think there was like a culminating conference after each, section. And there was a Christian rapper, Bobby. I forget his name.
Not Bobby Herring.
No.
Bobby Bishop?
Bobby Bishop.
Bobby Bishop.
I recorded. There's probably a Facebook video out
Shout
there.
out
But
to Bobby
yeah.
Bishop.
So I was able to perform with, like share a stage with him, which was
Yes.
really cool. So I advanced to that to the national level. I wrote a song called Martyr's Alphabet, where I went through every letter of the alphabet and I described how Christians in those countries are being persecuted, starting from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, China, all the way down to Zimbabwe. And so I made it to the national level, but there was like an essay requirement, and I was a dumb kid. I didn't submit it on time, so I never got to compete even at the national level that year.
Gotcha.
And then there was also some funding stuff, so. But all to say, man, I kept writing, and by God's grace, I performed at a number of venues. I was receiving invitations, and I did go to different churches, and I could have done this professionally.
Right.
I was even performing at Christian colleges. But we'll get into this in a minute. I'm glad that I did not.
Really? Is that right?
Because I think I would have wrecked my life for
Really?
real.
Huh.
Absolutely.
Huh. How so? What do you mean?
Well, I believe that I was not a Christian, man, to be honest with you.
Got
You know
it.
what I mean? Like I was saying the right things. I knew the right things, but my heart really wasn't changed. You know what I mean? And so I think that at the time I probably would have gotten into things that, I don't know if I would have come out of, And so
Gotcha.
I see God's providence and his hand in, taking me in a different direction.
Yeah.
But then, by his grace, saving me and now preparing me for where
Almost
I'm at.
like taking you somewhere else in order to
Yeah.
really get prepared and
Right.
seasoned and then bring you back.
Right. And it's funny though, because now like the stuff that I'm working on, like this first project, Dear Church and World, a full-length album, my first official release,
Right.
like I would not have been able to put that out if it wasn't for all the life experience that I had.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I feel like I would have been very 1D. But now it's like I'm leveraging all of that life experience, so I see God's hand in it.
That's good. So when you were going through all these things with the fine arts and Christian rap and so on and so forth, like what made you veer and chase the financial professional path?
Yeah, so I went to college, man. And, like I said, I just made a decision, you know what, I'm going to, I guess, just pump the brakes on the CHH thing. And look, I love to learn, right? I love the liberal arts. I love philosophy. I love theology. And so I double majored pretty
Gotcha.
much in theology, but then I also knew, your boy has to pay the bills,
Right,
right?
right,
So,
right.
so I also double majored in accounting. And so I did that, and I was like, look, like I could kind of tap into, the big questions,
Right.
right? But then also have a trade.
Yeah.
So did that, and then by God's grace, was fortunate enough to land a really solid opportunity right after college, and one thing led to another, man, and I was in private equity, which
Yeah.
is pretty much like that's where you want to be
Creme
if
de
you're
la
in
creme.
finance.
I mean,
Yeah,
PE or
man.
investment banking.
That's
I mean,
it, bro.
that's so. I mean, and getting into the private equity space, I know enough to be dangerous
Yeah.
because I work with a number of private equity people. But get into that space is not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not easy.
It's not. And actually, shout out to the firm that hired me. I don't know if I should drop
That's
the
fine,
name.
man. Yeah.
Drum Capital. I want to clarify, like, I really appreciate the opportunity, and
Yeah.
it was an awesome experience.
good.
So
Are they
me-
out of New York?
no, out of Stanford.
At Stanford. Okay.
Yeah.
So Mid Ocean Partners owned the company that I work for, and so I was at the time the chief commercial officer.
Okay.
And so I got a chance to spend a lot of time with them and just kind of watch how they operate. And so when you're used to being an operator at a company, and then you go work with private equity folks, you assume at the initial you'll have the same outlook. Their outlook is different.
Very different, bro.
Very different, bro. It's so different. The things we think were wins, they would say, well, not necessarily.
Right.
Like, like your EBITDA actually is too high. We're like, yeah, the 27% EBITDA. Yeah, that
Exactly.
means you're probably leaving something on the table. Really?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, and then to watch how they manage a portfolio
Yep.
and deal as investors.
Absolutely.
Right. Who
bro.
have, in certain cases, some operating experience. And so for you doing that, how many years were you in PE?
I was in PE for about 3.5 years, but
Yeah.
I was in like financial accounting and reporting, and
Gotcha.
for about 10.
Gotcha.
Yeah, right
So-
out of college.
So as you transition from like that world to the music space now,
Yeah, bro.
what are the lessons you're bringing with you that you're not leaving behind? Like you're like, those lessons there, I'm taking here for sure. What are
Right.
some of those?
Well, I'll say this, man. It's like you're using two different sides of your brain, right? Because it's like some of the categories that you apply in
Right.
PE,
Mm-hmm.
I don't apply in art. You know what I mean? And vice versa. But
Yeah.
I'll say this: I use like a PE framework more for how I manage my label as a business. So, for example, setting up my LLC, using my own license agreement. So I had an attorney draft my license agreements up so that when I enter into a transaction with the producer for a
Right.
beat,
Yeah.
I know exactly what my rights, and obligations are, and vice versa, right?
Interesting.
And then, I look at everything as a transaction. So just structuring it right, commercially, to make sure that, all my T's are crossed, all my I's are dotted. But then also, having a plan. So I legit have a marketing strategy.
Right.
Like, I think that is funny because, the impression could be, oh, I'm just a crazy risk taker. Nah, bro. Like, bro, I have a plan, like,
Right,
like
right.
legit, you know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm working that, by
That's
God's
good.
grace. So it's like I'm sowing, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's my part. And I'm trusting God, you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I still have to sow, and PE gives me a framework for how to do that in a business context. Art is a little different, you know what I
Right.
mean? But I'll say this, not so much, believe it or not, because I think that if you look at my songs, if you look at my album, there's a logical progression
Right.
from start to finish. It's a unified, coherent story.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually, that is an application of, the mindset that I applied in PE.
Right.
Right. So it's like I take this portfolio company,
Right.
and I'm looking at the operation, and I'm like, hey, what's the story here?
Right.
What's the narrative? Right. How do you
Right.
how do you take these financials? How do you take these numbers and turn it into an actionable, operational plan?
Right.
Right. And then be able to pitch that, right?
Right.
So now I'm talking to banks. I'm talking, you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
And I'm telling that story, and it's got to be logical. It's got to be coherent, but it has to be compelling.
Yeah.
So actually, I'm gonna walk back some of what I said earlier. That last part of making the story compelling is very much an art thing.
Right.
So I did apply this.
It
in
is.
PE.
You did. I was going to say, because
Yeah.
you truly did, man. Because sometimes when you're working in a company and you're in leadership, every now and then you have that moment, hopefully within yourself or a friend or somebody who keeps you accountable, says, even at lunch, bro, are you working in the business or are you working on the business?
Right.
Because sometimes you get so down into the execution, you don't come up to, like, I always say, like, imagine you're in a factory. If you're down on the floor at every conveyor belt, who's up top overseeing all the conveyor belts, right?
Yep.
Being in PE, like, takes that example to the fifth exponent.
For sure.
Seeing it as a portfolio company saying, okay, cool, we've got this whole thing. Is it capitalized enough? Do they have enough partnerships?
Right.
Onshore, offshore? Are they thinking about labor shifts and looking ahead, right? And a lot of times people in the business can't see it. And so to me, as you bring that into this, you're doing that with your art and thinking about, and again, it's no disrespect to art, but a lot of times I think when we think about the art, we have to think about it as an asset.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
And another thing too, I'll say about PE, what PE taught me was how to look for deep value, right? And some of that's PE, some of that's investing, asset management in general, right? So it's funny because I feel like nowadays, like most consumers, they're only going to attach themselves to an artist like after that artist has already made noise, right? And what I'm saying is my stock is low now, but it's going to rise. You feel me? Like
I want to rise. That's good.
Yeah. So I look at it as like right now I'm undiscovered.
Right.
I have an album, but like if you listen to it,
right,
I feel like anyone who looks at that with a PE or investor or like asset management lens, they're going to be like, yo, there's deep value here. You know what I mean? Like there's something here. Let's try to get into tranche A. You know what I'm talking about.
I do.
You know what I mean? Let's get in now. Let's get in early.
I do.
You know? So I look at it as like, right now, I released my debut release Thanksgiving, right, 2024, and I'm cool like with the fact that it has like, a couple thousand, streams, because I'm like, that's a good thing.
Right.
Like I haven't been marketing it or promoting it. There's something there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I feel like this stock could rise,
So I know you don't want to give away the secret sauce per se, but to the extent that you can, well, actually, let's go back a second. I have a couple questions. What was it like to make the decision to say, I'm going to leave this PE job? And I'm sure some people like grabbed you by the shoulders and said, are you sure? Like you're leaving, let's be honest, a good paying role with a lot of future possibilities to go do what? Christian rap?
Right.
What was that like going through that process?
Yeah, well, I'll say this, man. It's a process that unfolded over the course of about 2 years.
Okay.
It's not a decision that I made lightly or hastily or in isolation.
Right.
Right. So it's funny because like you often hear that proverb quoted, there's safety and abundance of counselors. And I agree with that. But that doesn't mean make everyone your counselor, right? Because there's another proverb that says, he who judges a matter before hearing it, that's to his folly. So it's like everybody has an opinion,
that's
you know what I mean, on my story and what I should be doing. But the funny thing is they don't know me. You feel me? So I feel like the people who know me best, starting with my wife, you know what I mean? Starting with my family.
Yeah.
Starting with my accountability.
Your parents still around?
Yeah. My parents are still around. Shout out to mom and dad, man. Huge fans. I love them.
Where are they living, by the way?
They're in New York.
New York. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So my church, my pastor, right? And then three dudes who like we're like life bros. You know what I mean? Like 2 of them are from my church. One of them is a mentor. So we all made this decision together. And actually, to be honest with you, bro, this is something I didn't want to do. You know what I mean? Like for the better part of, my post-college life.
Right.
You feel me? Like I was foot on the gas, like, let's go industry all day, every day. You know what I mean? Like rap, Christian rap.
Then what pushed it forward?
So it was really a 2-year process that honestly, man, started with discipleship.
Gotcha.
It started with that recovery discipleship, that turning point in 2021, which then led into 2022. And then in that process of character change, my priorities started to shift.
Gotcha.
And then, I started having conversations. I remember the first conversation, I had with one of the dudes from that group, like, yo, this is going to sound crazy, homie. I like to rap. And he was like, what you mean? And I was like, I like to this. And he's like, yo, we got to explore that, bro. So then 3 months later, 6 months later, 9 months later, like we're talking about it, and he's like, yo, man, I think that, you know, maybe this is something you should consider. And then, you know, one of the guys from my group, one of the co-leaders of that men's group was like, brother, you should consider a career change. And so from that point, I believe that was in October of 2022. It took about a year and 3 months or so for me to actually like do that.
One of the folks in the group heard you and said, I think you should make a career.
I think you should do this full time, bro.
Now the turning point was 2021, right?
Correct.
What was that? What was the turning point?
Yeah, bro. The turning point for me, you know, like God had been bringing me to a place where I was starting to see the reality of my condition. And I believe that I was very religious. Like I said the right things. I knew the right things. I went to church. You know what I mean? I even participated in the right ministries. I did the right thing. And my heart wasn't changed. My heart was not changed.
What made that bubble up for you? What made you see that? See yourself in the mirror that way?
Praise God, the Holy Spirit who convicts the world of sin, right? So December, I want to say late 2021, I got together with two of the guys. They're actually two of my 3 reference letters, you know, are from these guys. I love them. We're like blood brothers, like, you know what I mean? Yeah. But not for real. You feel me? Like, chill, like this ain't no vampire. But yeah, so we got together for breakfast and really early, and I get into this in the Track Stars interview, and I was like, yo, this is what's going on in my life. And they started asking questions, and they're like, brother, can I ask you a question? For real. Do you believe that you're regenerate? And I was just like, really? They were like, yeah, like, do you believe that you're born again? Like, do you believe that you're truly converted? Yeah. And I'm like, well, you know, what about like struggle with sin? And we're not denying that. Right. But what you're describing sounds like a lifestyle. You feel me? Like, and so it was a moment of grace and truth. It was confrontation, but it was compassionate confrontation. Not this Instagram reel, like, you know what I mean? Like, no. It was coming from 2 dudes who know their own sin and who are humble before God, right? And who look to Christ, but also know him as their savior. Gotcha. And then know the Spirit as their sanctifier. You know what I mean? And they want to call me into that. And so they challenged me, and it was a compassionate, but it was a confrontation. Yeah. And so that started a 6-month process where the Holy Spirit really started changing my heart. And I remember in 2022, man, during my lunch break, I was outside for a walk, and I just, in a way that I never experienced prior, I felt the Holy Spirit hit me with the full weight of my sin. And I just said, God, I'm lost. Wow. I know the right things. I grew up in church. I say the right things. I'm in the right ministries, but my heart is not changed. I love my sin and I love myself, and I do not love you. I love my sin. Yes. Wow. And I said, but please, if you're going to wait for me to start loving you in order to answer this prayer, I wouldn't have to say this prayer because I wouldn't need you, right? But you're the first mover. So I need you to take me. Colossians talks about this. I'm dead in my trespasses and in my sins. Ephesians talks about this. I need you to take this corpse and give it life. And he did, bro. Wow. He did. And then, you know, started working, you know, men's discipleship. And bro, I mean, God started changing my life. Like, so you were already well connected in the church and the community and whatnot. Well, yes, right? I was like going to church, right? You know what I mean? And there, you know, like I was meeting probably like every month maybe, but it was not. But then there was a men's group that started right around the same time that I believe God saved me, and it was a weekly thing, bro. And I've been in that type of group. I was in the first group for a year, and then I was in 2 other groups after. So we're coming up on, it'll be 3 years. That's what I was going to ask you. Every single week, bro. What did you do differently after that moment? True discipleship, which was like, all right, hey, how do we like know and be known? And what does it mean to turn from sin, but to turn to God.
Yeah.
So in other words, this was authentic community discipleship for the first time, like really getting to know more about who I am, who God is, who he made me to be in relation to himself, in relation to others, right? And really just starting to work through, all right, history, origin, all of these things, you know, with these other guys. And not only that, but then liturgy, you know what I mean? Like if a life of sin is insanity, a life of worship is liturgy. So what are those routines, those structures that we build into it so that it becomes a lifestyle of discipleship? And so, yeah.
That's good. So tell me about how you move into Christian rap, you make the declaration that you're going to go full time.
Yeah.
How'd you come up with the name of the label and, to me, some of the branding associated with it?
Yeah, so it's funny because originally I was looking for like a name that was unique.
Yeah.
But no cap, like every name that I looked up was taken.
Yep.
And I'm like, yo, it's easy to like release music independently now. Everybody's doing it. Every name that I come up with is apparently not original. So I was like, you know what? I want something unique, man. I don't think of I can't think of an artist that is like has a stage name that's just numbers.
Yeah.
You know, you have like 50 Cent, Tupac, right? But it's not just numbers, right?
Right.
So I was like, I want that, but I also want something that defines me. And at the end of the day, what defines me more than Christian? That's my identity.
Absolutely.
But then I also want something that is different than what people expect. So, for example, right? I think you pronounced my name 1541. That's what most people would expect looking at it. But I pronounce it as 1541 because I'm communicating that people and things aren't always what they seem. So it's important to step into people's experiences and tell stories. So I'm doing that with my music. So all to say, 1541 Gematria Records. Gematria, like gem, Germany, it's that, not a G. It's like gematria, geometry. Gematria Records. So gematria is the practice of assigning number values to letters, right? So I said, I'm going to have fun with this. So if you take the Greek word for Christian in the New Testament, Christianos, I believe it's Acts 11:26. In Antioch, they were first known as Christianos, right? Or Christianoi in the plural, whatever. Jojo, shout out to Jojo, my Greek and Hebrew guy. But Christianos, if you take that Greek word and you add the letters up using the Ionic Greek cipher, right? Which is like, it says, okay, for each letter, this is the number value. It equals 1,541. So that's my way of saying Christian, bro.
Gotcha.
Christian. That's ultimately my identity.
Gotcha.
But the number thing is to be unique. But then also the fact that, look, I'm just a number.
Yeah.
Like, God doesn't need me to do Christian rap. Like, if that's my perspective, that's really corny, personally. Like, if I'm like, yo, God needs me to do this, bro. God created ex nihilo, dude. Like, he does not need me. But at the same time, by saying that, I don't mean to undermine his love for
You believe
me.
he purposed you?
I believe that he loves me, and this, like, he's purposed me to do this. So I'm a number. He doesn't need me, but he loves me. You know.
That's good. Let me give you some shouts out to the folks on YouTube.
Let me get some water.
Theolinda, absolutely. Theolinda F.
Yeah.
Say good afternoon.
That's my wife, bro.
That's your wife.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Theolinda. Debbie said, "Let's get it."
That's my sister.
Okay, your sister, and then Raymond. Feliciano said, "Love you,
pops,
son.
Bro.
Love you, son.
Love you, Dad. Appreciate you, man. For
real. Thank y'all for checking in. Appreciate that.
Yeah, man.
And y'all throw some hard questions. Y'all know him, so y'all can throw some of the harder questions.
All right. Let's go.
All right, cool. So then 1541, got that. So then what does 3168 mean?
All right. So see, I was thinking about saving that for future content, but since you're triggering, this is holy culture.
You put it on your cover.
We gonna drop it, bro. All right. So Philippians, I believe it's Philippians 2. When it says every knee will bow down and every tongue will confess that Jesus Christ is Lord to the glory of the Father. Jesus Christ is Lord. Jesu Christa Kurios. Jesu Christos Kurios. I did some Greek in college. If you add, again, the number values of that phrase, Jesus Christ is Lord, 3,168. So if you look at my album cover art, I put the Lordship of Christ on top, the cross in the center, and I put myself on the bottom. And there's no editing or anything like that because actually I wanted it to just be raw for this first project. Like, I didn't want it to be like pretty, you know what I mean?
That
like
was shot in your studio, right? That literally is how your studio's laid out.
Just a click, done, that's it.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So
What's this experience been like for your family? How would they describe it?
I mean, I'll start with, my wife and I.
Yeah.
I think it's been amazing. Just in terms of, something that we can get around, together, be excited about, work towards.
Yeah.
I would not be here without the incredible work that she does, holding it down, with our three kids, our three beautiful kids. She takes care of them 24/7. Her parents are in Texas. My parents are in New York, and they try to, come over when they can, but it's my wife,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Taking care of them by herself, bro.
Yes.
Like she's like Superwoman. She got that cape,
Yes, sir.
like, so all to say, like, she's been working hard. She's invested, with that side of things, and she frees me up to really be able to create,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, like, it's been a season of trusting God, but it's really cool that, like, she supports me in this, like, there's been no pushback,
Yeah.
not to say that, we don't talk about things, and, we try to make decisions together, but yeah, man, I think it's been something that has really brought us together even more. And then, extended, out of that. So like my parents, my brother, my sister, they're super supportive. So really grateful for that.
It's good.
And then yeah, same with the church, man.
That's good.
So
talk about the album, Dear Church and World.
yep.
What made the concept what made the concept of the album come to life?
Yeah, bro. So really, we kind of got into this earlier, but some of the healing that God was working in my own life, right? So I wanted to interact with the question of what does it look like for the church to be a place of healing in the world, right? And so, Dear Church and World, right? It sounds like a letter because like I'm being authentic in it, but I'm also saying something. I'm communicating a story, and some of it's my story, some of it are other stories,
Right.
But basically, the heart of it is, what does it look like for the church to be a place of healing in the world? And how can I contribute to that as a Christian rapper?
Right.
And so, start to finish, Hit 'em with a Rap tells a story, okay, of how I got into CHH. Christian rapper, I think, has the potential to be, like make a unique contribution to CHH in that I'm talking about, or I'm defining what I mean by that term.
Yeah.
But I'm also creating it at the same time.
Right.
So it's like, all right, I'm going to get into CHH, Hit 'em with a Rap. Here's what I mean by that, Christian rapper. And then the heart of the project starts then in Church Musings Part 1 and 2, where I tell the story of, a woman named Natalie, who was, abused by church leadership.
Yeah.
I tell the story of a man named Jay. These are pseudonyms, by the way, of a man named Jay, who, grew up in a church where the abuse that was going on in his home was known, but never really dealt with, and then, I move into Church Musings Part 2 and I speak to them, you know what I mean? And I believe it has like a Mockingbird. Church Musings Part 2, the feedback that I'm getting is like, yo, this sounds like Marshall, like a Marshall Mathers Mockingbird record.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
It does.
And so like, I'm actually like doing like I wanted to model, not just talk about, but model, hey, what does it look like for the church to be a place of gospel-centered healing? So that's what I do there. And then Dear Addict, I'm like, hey, what does it look like for Jesus to step into addiction?
Yeah.
And then, believe it or not, the diss track on the song, it's not really a diss track, but I swing a little bit at Dear Pastor, so Pastor Random, right? So I do some characterization and I create a whole character, and I name him Pastor Random, and he signifies someone who's really just a pastor in name, just a nominal pastor, negligent. Random means he's disconnected from his sheep, doesn't know them. He's just a random stranger, basically just collecting their tithes and preaching at them, rebuking them. But he's not really shepherding, right? And so really, like, he, I think, personifies some of the frustration that a lot of people have who have left the church. This is just hypocritical,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, this is not a place for like sinners who want to repent. This is just report cards. And so I wanted to confront that. And then I do confront, some of the issues in the world that I'm seeing of abortion, transgenderism, cancel culture. But I intentionally reserve that for the end. And I Will Never Win a Grammy. And then I close the song out with a tribute track to some of the church leaders who have had such an instrumental part in my own walk. And then as well as, the team, my producers and engineers. So yeah, man, I think what makes it unique is that it's storytelling from start to finish.
Yep.
I do think that lyrically it's first rate, both in terms of the content and also the cadences. Some of the rhyme schemes are very intricate, very unique.
Yep.
And I know that, some people are like, oh, lyricism is passe. Look, I'm going to do me, bro.
Nah, bro.
You know what I mean?
Not
like,
at all.
that first track is, I'm just going to be honest. Like, I'm a lyricist. Like, it's cool, like, processing and effects. But I'm the kind of guy who, like, when I step into the studio, I'm not the kind of guy who just stands in front of the mic like this because I'm hearing you know what I mean? Like, it's the effects and the processing are carrying me. No, like, I'm going to spit into this thing. So that's me, bro.
And it's clear, I listened to it twice, I think, all the way through, and
appreciate you, man.
Absolutely, and I love the pointedness of some of the points, no pun intended, right? But you're really like hitting some of the nails on the head. But you also then give this balanced perspective of, but I need the church.
100%.
Right? It's not a church diss.
No.
It's pointing out some of the opportunities, right? And then ways to do it. And let me affirm at the end, you do a great job on that close up of, I need the church. Like, I'm here.
100%, bro. 100%.
Yeah.
And actually, like, I say this on my website too, 1541rap.com, shameless plug. Of
course.
But I say this on my website. Look, I am first and foremost a Christian.
Absolutely.
And so I need Christ and I need his church,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
And so the references that I put on there, these are from men in the church that I walk with. And look, I'm going to be walking with the church, by God's grace, because I believe he'll preserve me for the rest of my life.
Right.
And there's nowhere else I want to be.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's all perfect, but it does mean that, look, when it comes to authentic community, when it comes to being my authentic self, and let me clarify what I mean by that, not in like a secular humanist way, in a vain narcissistic way where it's all me and no, but more in the sense of Psalm 139, who am I really? Like, how did God fearfully and wonderfully make me?
Yeah.
And I call that my createdness, accepting my createdness, walking in my createdness, and being known as such. That's the church for me. Like, there's no other community. Like, for example, like, the guys that I went to, almost a year and a half ago now, and, pitched this idea of like being full-time CHH, because they know me so well and they were part of that process. They weren't like judging me.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like just a automatic no. It was like, let's talk about this, bro.
Yeah.
I want to get to know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What's on your heart? And so being accepted for my createdness, my true, I like to say, I'll replace the category of authentic self with my created self. Being my true created self, I believe there's no community on planet Earth like the church that can do that. And so if we can then, invite others into that, and really be a place of healing. And again, healing doesn't mean that there's no confrontation, there's no challenge. That's all part of healing. But in the sense of balance and also humility, right? Like, I look at it as like, if you see two dudes on death row, like, and the one dude's gonna call out the other dude for what he did, he better be humble, because he did the same, you know what I mean? Like, same thing. So I look at it as like, the guys that I listen to most are not like the loud guys on Instagram and, like screaming and all these reels that are just clickbait. The guys who I listen to most are the guys who come to me humility, knowing their own sin, and love, and there's love. And so I believe that if we can be like that, and I believe that that's one of like the qualities of a healthy church, if we can be like that for us, and we can invite the world into that, man, that's the Great Commission right there, bro.
That's good. That's good, bro. So when I was listening to this album, I have a tendency with listening, just taking mental notes of like what's happening. And the one thing I noticed, and correct me if I'm wrong, is you're the singular voice on this album. We're in an era now where that's not typical. A lot of times you have a lot of collaborations and different things and so on and so forth. Was that intentional?
I mean, yeah, bro, I pretty much didn't exist to the entire world, prior to November 28th. So, collabs and stuff like that. I mean, I believe that God's kind of like creating it ex nihilo. My studio is in my basement. I've legit been working underground for the last year.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? So like, The only creatives I've been collaborating with are my producers and my engineers. That's it.
Yeah.
You know. But I feel like my first project though had to be kind of like me as this as the solo artist, in the sense of like I felt like the burden that I had for this particular project, the vision,
Right.
was talk about the healing that God has done and is doing in your life and invite others into that. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the only thing I'm going to say. Because,
Yeah.
see, the first coming, Trig, the first release was about healing.
Mm-hmm.
The second release, yeah, it's going to be hard, bro.
So you've already started conceptualizing
Oh, yeah,
the next
bro.
album.
Oh, not only that, but I got some singles that are coming out in Q1.
Got it.
And that's why, like, I like to say I'm a Christian, period. That's
Yeah.
my identity. Rapper, period. That's work. Christian plus rapper equals Christian rapper, but Christian rapper doesn't equal one thing. And so this is where it's like, I believe that, you know, the niche that I saw, that, or that I see, I'll say, present tense, is lyrical storytelling. But storytelling doesn't just mean one thing. I'm about to drop some stories about entrepreneurship, hustle, grind. Like,
Nice.
it's storytelling, but you could still, you know, live to it in the gym. Like, and that's the thing. Like, people might hear that and think, well, no, like, it's got to be hard processing and effects to lift. Nah, it doesn't. It could be lyrics too.
Yeah.
Lyrics are not passe.
Absolutely.
So, yep.
So, wow, you said in the first quarter. Okay.
Yeah, bro.
So you're any day now. So
Before March.
before
Like,
March.
sometime
sometime before
between
March.
now and March.
So without, again, you know, sharing too much of, your secret sauce, how do you think about marketing in this space? How do you think about, you know, building your brand and such? To your point, not existing before late November,
Right.
you know, you're 60 days, less than 90 days in. How do you think about what that looks like?
Yeah. So for me, you know, I'm there are certain organizations that, you know, I'm going to be reaching out to. I'm honestly, I have a list of about 100 different
Gotcha.
organizations, institutions, that I'm going to be reaching out to. I finished my website last week, so I think that, you know, it pretty much speaks for itself, right? So two different things: consumers, they're going to stream, and hey, consumers are awesome, appreciate y'all.
Yep.
But clients want detail, they want depth. My website gives them that and more. It's got my bio, my statements of faith. It's got my intro, my philosophy or theology of art, which who even says that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I feel like one of the things that distinguishes me and my brand is rap. I think is something that I do really well, but I also do a lot more, right? So we could chop it up about business, we could chop it up about philosophy, theology, politics. So I think that skill set lends itself to a broad array of events, right, and venues.
Yeah.
So I'm really going to be pitching that pretty heavily. But yeah, all to say, I think, you know, my website's got everything. My music, all of my lyrics, again, statements of faith, bio, philosophy, theology of art, and I'm going to be leveraging that hopefully to really execute my marketing.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'm hearing a B2C and B2B approach, and the B2B piece seems like you've thought a lot about, which is, I don't think, common for most rappers to think about a B2B approach. So
Right.
I see you.
Appreciate you, man.
I see you.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the B2C is going to be more of like the social. Look, I'm literally like a month into social media. I've just been, you know, like, I'm the kind of dude who, to be honest with you, Trig, like, I just try to be present for my family.
Yeah.
I'm not like the post every day kind of guy. That said, I want to see social media as a tool, not a tyrant.
Right.
I don't live for no algorithm. You know what I mean?
Right.
That said, I see it as a tool. There's a redemptive use case for it, for sure.
Sure,
So
absolutely.
I'm gonna be tapping into that, and
Absolutely.
I'm gonna be releasing. So one of the things I'll say is, I've got a couple different like content segments that I've thought through on the B2C, like the side of it. Maybe we should clarify. So B2B meaning business to business, B2C business to consumers. So like social media, I would consider B2C. So I'm gonna put out, you know, rapping reels and all that, and videos, and, you know, all that TikTok algorithm type stuff.
Right.
And then also I've got a segment called Do the Math, which is where I'm gonna be doing like short form content, like who I am as a Christian artist and a creative, what I'm up to. And then another one called Rap Exegesis, which is more like algorithm conscious, in the sense of, you know, like quick a couple seconds, but what it's going to do is it's going to blend my music, so
Right.
marketing it, but then also a scripture verse, and then rightly interpreting and explaining it, exegesis, and then some of my interests
Right.
as well.
Right.
So I like chess, for example. I just dropped the first rap exegesis short, and check it out. It's pretty cool, man. Magnus Carlsen is putting Hans Newman
Yeah.
in his place, boy.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Magnus Carlsen fan. But yeah, I looked at that like Jesus, like checkmating rap. Like, yo, I own you, bro. Rapping CEO,
right.
Jesus, bro. Boom, put
What
that king.
something you said is interesting, right? Because like you're not the social guy. You're not going to do this. Like I'm not going to let you forget that one of the truisms I think of that's going to happen with you is you're going to constantly at intervals be pulled back into again the am I working in or working on? And when you jump into working on mode, I don't think you'll be able to help but see and look at the portfolio. And is the portfolio operating the way I think it should operate? And if not, what resources do I need to add to it beyond me?
100%.
Right?
100%.
I don't think you're going to be able to not do that and say, wait a minute,
100%.
I'm underutilizing or undergrowing the portfolio. I'm
100%.
letting the value, become devalued. Right.
Right.
And it's not. You don't have the right, investment return ratio on this thing.
Right, absolutely, man, 100%. I think for now though, I'm more in a place of like, it's been like 6 weeks. We're coming out of the holiday season too. I really wanted to just enjoy my family, be present, rest.
Sure.
I've honestly been at like 1,000% on that album. You know what I mean? So I intentionally took like 2 weeks off to just relax and my foot's on the gas for sure. And I'm gonna do everything I can, and as required, I'm definitely gonna add help and expertise. At the same time, man, like I'm gonna trust in the Lord. You know what I mean? Like, because I look at it as like in my devotions. Like I'm not Googling. It's like this is just where God has me in my devotions, right? You look in Genesis and you see Isaac, for example. There's a year where he sows and he reaps 100-fold, but it took a year.
Right.
It took a year, and there was adversity. Like his herdsmen dug and found 3 wells. The Philistines seized all of them. It wasn't until the 4th well that he was actually able to keep it, right? And then also at the start of that year, the Philistines kick him out. They're like, we don't want you here. You whack, bro. We ain't gonna partner with you. We ain't gonna promote you. You whack, A year later, they're like, let's make a covenant. Let's make a treaty because God has blessed you. So I look at it as like, look, right? That year Isaac sowed.
Right.
But the Lord gave him that growth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm going to do what I can, absolutely. But at the same time, I don't want to give myself over to anxiety where it's like everything hinges on me.
Yeah,
like, nah, bro, God done spoke the world into existence.
Absolutely. No, I feel you. No, the same. No, absolutely not. I'm glad you said that because I think the same, what's what I'm looking for? The same level-headedness that you would have had in corporate. And I say this beyond you. I hope this for all of us, right? When we're working and operating in corporate environments and structure, there's a level of comfort and security we seem to walk the hallways with, right? Because the company's got our back. We've been given a budget. We've been given some time. And we operate that way. We are living and working for the king. So how much more should we be operating like that? If you let the company's balance sheet give you confidence before, how much more confident should you be with the king's balance sheet? And so that's to me the space to try to be in, and it's harder because you can't see the numbers sometimes, right? That's harder. That's where your faith comes in. It's like the old adage of when a ship's captain leaves the shore, he can't see the destination for days sometimes,
right?
But know he's moving in the right direction,
right? I mean, you want to talk about a balance sheet that's impressive? How about you look at the asset section, universe.
Exactly.
Liabilities, nothing. All equity, homie.
all equity.
Come on, bro.
I mean, come on, man. It's
that's God's balance sheet,
listen,
bro.
bars. All right. Speaking of bars, let's have some. Let's have some. This brother's going to drop some gems.
All right, let's go.
Let's have it.
All right, let me find this beat in my head. Yeah. Yo. Stop. Told me I'm not supposed to be doing this, like I'm losing it, letting go of the rock. Like you was around holding it down and you really know me a lot. Like you got a crown and if I bow, you really show me a lot. Homie, you ain't the GOAT and you're really funny. Saying I'm broke, but you really know I ain't using your money. Yeah, like I never save or know how to invest. You trying to be Dave all in my face. I ain't drowning in debt. Want to be Ramsey? You're an expert, can't be. I really miss this. Say I have loans and interest. Your degree's in Quizlet. Ha! You be crushing on paper. You be killing the LinkedIn. Got enough of your major. And I finna get you. It's on a mission. Talk to me later and give me a year, cause I ain't afraid to grind. I done made up my mind. I ain't playing a rhyme, yeah, and I really mean it. It's just a matter of time, believe it. You're gonna see it. And if you don't, I'll flow on my own. I'm repping the king. I won't be defeated, yeah. I need a mic check, cause I'm thinking it might get kinda heated. I think I might set the alarm off and I'm peaking. Even if I'm a clip on the meter, I'll follow the leader. I know that he's leading the way. He on the mix, he's my engineer. When he on the chain, he make no mistakes. Yeah, I'm about to repeat. Shout out to CT. You be a goat, I'll be a husky. Make winning look easy. You is a silly dude. Say you a goat. You rap like a Billy do. Gia's a lion. He about to flex and have his fill of you. Yeah. I needed that beat, man.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Brother, tell people, well, actually, one thing before we close, man. What was it like? What was it like researching, if you did, and if you didn't, that's cool too. What was it like peeking and researching where CHH was before you dropped your album?
I'll be honest with you, man. I didn't.
You didn't?
Because I look at it as like this. I'm not here to sound like anyone else. I'm not here to check anyone's checklist. I'm not here to be like, oh, this is what it sounds like now, and I really need to sound like this. I feel like that's corny. Like, that's, for me, like, and I get it. Like, there's a place for, like, being strategic, knowing what the market wants and putting that out. But I look at it as like, look, Colossians 3:23. This is my inspiration coming in, not like my CHH market outlook.
Yeah.
3 things. Colossians 3:23. Whatever you do, work heartily to the Lord. So I start there. What can I do heartily? What am I passionate about?
There you go. Yep.
But that's not enough, right? You also need Philippians 4:8. What can I do excellently?
Yeah.
Right? Can I give the world an excellent work product? And then Psalm 90. Teach me how to number my days. They're limited.
Yeah.
So what can I do that I love, that I do excellently with the limited time that I have? And I'm like, you know what, bro? If I do those things and I hustle and I sow, I got to believe eventually the right person's going to hear it.
Amen.
Or, look, God's going to hear it and he's going to do something.
Amen.
That's how I look at it.
Amen.
Now, I'm not crazy in the sense of I'm a CPA candidate as well. I expect my license in June. So, look, I have a fallback, but I look at it like this. Some rappers have merch. I might do taxes.
Right.
My kids are going to eat, bro. I promise you, if you put me and anyone else in the world in a ring and you say, show me who cares most about providing for your kids, I win that fight every time. And my kids are not going to go hungry. So we're good, bro. You don't have to worry about, like, my family's not on your shoulders. They're on mine, bro.
That's good.
Like, I'm the only dude that God has called to shoulder that, and
That's
I will.
good.
And I'm not afraid, bro.
Listen, the bro is here. 1541. Tell them where to tap in with you, brother.
Hey, listen, I'm going to make it easy for y'all, all right? 1541rap.com. 7 characters. All my socials are there. All my streaming is there. My bio, statements of faith, all that stuff. My whole portfolio is there. Booking. So there it is, man. 1541rap.com.
Y'all heard it here first, y'all. 1541's in the building. Until next time, y'all. Much love.
Appreciate you, Chick. Thank you, man.
Absolutely, bro.